Hello, welcome to my studio. My name is Sharon Hurst and today we're going to have a whistle-stop tour of masking fluid. Primarily this is aimed at beginners, but it's also there for the strugglers. I know a lot of people struggle with masking fluid. I've had a couple of emails and I felt that the time had come probably to knuckle down and deal with the issue. So this is what I'm talking about here, this tricksy little pot of blue stuff. And I think really the first thing that we need to talk about is paper. As with everything you do in watercolour, the paper is very important. Choose the right thing for the right job. I like my Bockingford. Now the reason for that is because it's quite a roughy tufty paper. It's cellulose, so it's wood pulp, it isn't cotton. If you're using something like Arches or Saunders, it's cotton. If you think about it, compare it to doormats. Now I know this sounds absolutely bonkers, but if you're looking at something beautiful like a turtle mat, front doormat, the cotton, soft, speckled doormat that we all know and love, and other doormats are available, that when you tread on it and you have wet feet will just wick away everything on your shoes and you will walk into the house and have nice clean feet, no issues whatsoever. Now if we put a nice nylon doormat down there and you'd wipe your feet on that, nothing would come off, would it? It's not going to soak anything off at all. So when you walk on those lovely beige or cream coloured carpets, you're going to leave marks. And our paper's the same. So my Bockingford, down to basics, is that nylon doormat. So stuff sits on top of it, doesn't soak in. It's you know, it floats. That's what we want. Whereas if I use something gorgeous like Arches, it's just cotton and it all wicks down into the fibres. Immediately you've got a problem. So therefore I'd say to you, choose your paper very carefully. Now, should we get on with it? Let's have a go. Here we are, all ready to go. This is my blue masking fluid. I'd like to make the point before we even begin that all of this is just my opinion. It's my preference. Therefore, it's not the right way to do it, it's just the Sharon Hurst way of doing it. Masking fluid comes in many different guises, many different forms. You'll find there's the white masking fluid. I don't see the point of that, you can't see it. Why would you put it on the paper and not be able to see it? You can buy a yellow form of masking fluid, but again I find that very, very thick, terribly smelly, don't like that at all either. This is marvellous because it's so very, very thin. Now I have some, and you can buy this as well from the SAA. It's thin, 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 and it makes such a difference because you can achieve the most delicate, beautiful lines. When you first use it, this particular pot has been sitting out in my garage in stock for some months because life has been quiet at the moment with the virus going on. And you'll find that the blue dye settles down to the bottom of the pot. Now, many people say to you, don't shake it because it makes it bubbly. Well, yes, it does, but if you don't shake it, how are you going to make the best use of this blue dye? And of course, when you first open it, if you haven't been painting for a very long time, I deliberately chose this pot to show you this. It's gooey. The top is thick. Of course it is, because it's been sitting there for ages, doing nothing. It's settled. What we need to do with this is simply do it up and give it the best shake ever. And really, really, you dizzy yet? You need to give it a really, really good shake. And then you'll find that your masking fluid is thin, thin, thin. What a difference, look at that. It's bubbly, okay, let's knock some out. I'm not particularly concerned about my bubbles. But it's thin now, it's watery, it's not gloopy anymore. This is what we want. And you need it to be thin to achieve the best results, truly you do. Some people like to use a matte pen to put mask on, and that works very well. You dip and you draw. Lovely, lovely thin lines. Good idea. Some people like to use these rubber and shapers. These tend to be used by modellers really for modelling, and it's a tip that moves, it's rubbery, it's bendy, and you can get a certain amount of a certain degree of accuracy with these, but I don't find that it's accurate enough. My two tools of preference are these two brushes here. So I've got, this is just a number 6 brush, and this is my rigger, my 0 rigger, very, very thin brush. This particular little blighter here, what I've done is I've put nail varnish around the ferrule so that I can see it immediately, instantly, quickly in my selection when I want to choose a brush. This one I use for all the thicker edging, and this one I like for my hair and my grasses and the fine, fine bits and pieces that I want to paint. The most important thing when you're using masking fluid is use soap. Now the reason for that is if I were to dip that into there, this is rubber, it's gum, and it will immediately clog all of that brush, and the brush would be toast. It would be bin fodder, useless, hopeless. Therefore, if I wet my brush and then I come in to my bar of soap and I work the soap into the brush, make sure you get right into the ferrule. And then again, we're up to the bubbles issue here, but just roll them off, get rid of them, because it will alter the way the masking fluid goes on. So get rid of them. And now you know that your brush is protected from this nasty stuff. And I can dip in and I can give myself some nice thick lines. Bubbles, just wait a little minute, and when they've gone away, just move them out of your way like this. And if I'm drawing around a picture, if I have my edges, for instance, I have a line along through here, don't be mean with it, come in. Gosh, this is a bubbly one actually, I must have given it too good a shake. Come in and make your lines fairly thick. Don't be mean, because when you're painting your background you want to be able to come right up to this edge and have a bit of leeway so that you can go over the edge and not be panicking. Little lines like this on an edge of a picture are hopeless. You paint your background, you miss it, you skip over it, and already you've got a mark in here. Let me show you the mask on the... So see, what I'm going to do now is just rinse my brush, and then with a cloth, give it a really good wipe, and the bits that were on the ferrule come off, and my brush is as good as new. I use all of my brushes, to be honest with you, when I'm using masking fluid. I'm not that neurotic about it, as long as you make sure that you keep on rinsing and wiping it off and then coming back and soaping again. Some of the large pictures that I paint, and there's a lot of masking fluid on them, I will come in and I will re-soap my brush 2 and 3, 4, 5, 6 times during the course of the picture. With this is the brush that I might use to paint my beautiful little hairs and thin lines. And again, dip into the mask, get rid of the excess, and now we're going to paint with this. And you're going to do the most fine, delicate lines. Let me bring you in a little bit. So little fine lines up from here. Keep dipping, because every time you paint a line, you're going to lose the masking fluid, so reload. Sideways like that will give you a wider line. To actually paint a very fine line, you need to come in at 90 degrees. Literally, I need to come back out a bit so that you can see what I'm doing. And you need to be painting at 90 degrees to the paper, which sounds potty, but you have to be able to get the lines that you want. And to do this, I'm going to not use the masking fluid. Let's rinse this. And I'm going to wipe that. And this time I'm coming in with paint, purely and simply because I want to show you this fine technique. This is a dark paint. I've loaded the whole brush, so I've laid the whole brush into the paint. I'm going to move this along a little bit so that you can see where I'm going. And at 90 degrees to the paper, the tip of this brush, I can produce a line that is that fine. Right? If you lay your brush down sideways, you're going to get a bigger line, a wider line. So right on the tip. I'm going to have a little go at this in a minute on a picture up here. Let me do it now so that you can see how I would do that, and this can dry whilst we wait. This is an oak leaf and I've just painted it this initial colour. This is raw sienna, and I want to load up with the soap, roll it so that I get rid of any bubbles, and then if I use my masking fluid at 90 degrees straight up the middle of, and I'm using my little finger as to lean on. So this, I'm holding it like this, so effectively this is how I'm working on the paper, like this. So using your finger on here, straight up through. I'm going to reload from there up to here, and then another little brush. Just little delicate marks. But I want them to be so fine. This is how I do pussycat's whiskers. Fine. If we're not careful, we'll find that if I come in sideways with the brush, I'll get a much thicker line, and I don't want them. Here we go. So I'm keeping my distance from the paper just by leaning on my little finger. Lots and lots of little tiny veins, and in a minute when we paint over these, the veins will remain this gorgeous golden yellowy colour, and we will put darker colours on top. So we'll let that dry. Let me show you the technique with these other tools here. Both of these you don't need to soap them, but we can dip straight in and we can work this tool like this, and we can manipulate our masking fluid this way. So we can do that. This is particularly good for a nice splosh of mask, and then you can use it to pull out the starburst. So that's quite fun. The dip pen will give you a much finer line. So we dip. Oh, the thing is you're not going to be able to see it here, I'm so sorry, but that will give you a lovely fine line. Let me come in a little bit and just see. Let me move where I'm working. I'm going to come in here. Finest lines. That's almost finer than the than I can achieve with a rigger brush. So that would be wonderful as well for little grasses, veins in leaves, veins in fairies' wings. Fine detail. You can see how that works. So that's fun as well. Rinse it, and I'm just going to give that a wipe too. Okay. Now something I do want to just point out, your masking fluid should be this lovely blue, this gorgeous colour. This is a new pot and it's just raring to go because it's thin. When your masking fluid is this colour, this is a reel of cotton because it was the best thing I could find. When your masking fluid is this colour, throw it out because it kind of oxidises. The further down the jar you go, you'll find that the oxygen in the jar, the air in the jar, will oxidise and it will go this colour. And when it gets to this colour, it's elderly and you'll find that that will stick. It will be difficult to get it out of the paper and you will grizzle. So please, when it gets to this stage, this is how you know that it is old and you need to get rid of it. Just saying, because there's nothing worse than painting something beautiful or drawing something beautiful indeed and then finding out that it's done this and you can't work with it. It's heartbreaking. Okay, I want to show you this here now. Our leaf. You do not have to stress over mask. You can use it and reuse it on a painting as many times as you want to. You don't have to walk away and leave it and stress about coming back. Take it off. Get it off. Don't leave it. 24 hours, okay. The older the pot becomes, if you're leaving it a week and more, ooh, I don't know about that. Don't ever leave it in the sunshine in a window because that cooks it into the paper. So don't ever, please ever do that. And the other thing I've got to say about all of this is take it off, leave it alone. Next time you want to paint, you can come back in and you can put masking fluid on work that you've already painted. There's no problem with that. Just do a nice stroke with the mask. Don't fluffy brush. So when I say fluffy brush, don't come in and do this. Just stroke it. Put it straight on, get it on, sort it out. Job done. No fluffy brushing. And you can put masking fluid on top of paint again and again and again. It's fine. I mean, that half the time, that's the enjoyment of actually creating something exciting. I'll tell you what we could do with this. I'm jumping about a bit, but I'm having ideas as I go. We can, I'm going to wet my brush, soak my brush, and then I want to come in to my masking fluid. And with a brush full of this, I'm just going to have a little bit of a flick because that will leave us with some nice light golden areas on the leaf when it's dry. We'll do that for now. Whilst we do that, and that's drying, let me show you this fabulous little tool that you can use to remove your masking fluid. You can use, now our friend Matthew Palmer says that is your mask removing tool because you can come into your work and you can just rub it away. That's fine for small areas, but sometimes when you've got a really large picture, that's agony because you know, constant rubbing makes your fingers sore. So this is the mask away. Again, you can buy these from the SAA, and it's just like the stuff that we used to have on crepe soled shoes. That's what it is. So it's not a rubber as such. It doesn't tend to rub out too much pencil, which is good news. This one's filthy dirty because I've used it a lot. And all you need to do with this is come in and look how easy that is. And that's how easily your mask should come off. And this kind of sticks to your mask away and you can just pick it off and throw it in the bin. Whereas previously, all of that used to land up on the floor in a right old mess, didn't it? Horrible. Mask away. Brilliant little bit of stuff. I want to come down here and we're just going to, that's all dry now, so you know when it's dry, just touch it, tap it, and if nothing comes away on your finger, it's dry. That isn't, you see, there's the difference. So we leave that alone, but all of this we can work with. I just want to come over here and do some colour on top of this so that we can take the mask off in a minute and you can see the colour and what we're left with. So let's just put that on. Okay, leave that be. And I'm just going to dry this with a hairdryer and then I'll come back to you. And yes, you can use a hairdryer, but again, make sure your mask isn't too old. Here we are, all dry. I'm going to just bring you in a little bit so that you can see the fine lines that I've created. And then let's come back out so that we can see it to paint it. I want to just lay some extra colours in here. To give myself time, I want to just drop some water in over my leaf. Okay, and if I do this, and then I can start working into it. So here I have a mixture of burnt umber and Payne's grey, and I'm going to drop some of those around some of the edges. I know that I would like to have something a bit darker down the centre of the leaf. So this is burnt sienna. We're talking autumn colours here now. So I'm going to pop that in there. And you blend it out, rinse, just dab, get rid of that drip, and then you come into the side that you want to blend. Come into the side that you want to blend. If you go in and you pull it out, it makes a mess. Don't like it. So I just want to come in to the side I want to blend. I'm going to drop a bit more of this gorgeous raw sienna in here. A bit more thickly there. Alternate between thick and thin colour so that it makes it interesting. I'm going to see, that's a little bit hard. So again, rinse, dab, and then this time I have to come in from this side. There we are. Same around. This is because this side has already dried. Paper's warm from the hairdryer, you see. It makes a difference. I've got to come in from that side, and then I need something down here. Well, I'm going to go dark down here. So this is Payne's grey, and I want to drop that. And then that's on top of the browny colour here. A little bit up the stalk there. Drop some in so that we're not just looking at that colour just down this end. It would look quite bizarre. If you need to blend that, rinse and dab, get rid of the drip, and then come in and just gently nuzzle it, nudge it. Nudge it, smudge it and budge it. Just want to drop a few little bits in. And then we'll let that dry. Remember, watercolour is a bit of a blighter because it will definitely dry lighter than you expect. So I'm looking at that and I'm thinking, ooh, not sure, you know. It's still shiny, therefore I can still drop in some colour. When it starts to look matte like this, ooh, leave it alone, because that's when you can land up with cauliflowers. I'm not going to touch the top of that leaf. If this area might be an issue as it runs into this here, pushing fingers of paint into drying paint, could get some cauliflowers. But they could be quite interesting, so I'm just going to leave them alone for a minute. Let's put that aside, that needs to dry. And I want to come back down here to show you this area. and how we can remove the mask. And now you can see those lovely, look at that. I mean, that's got to be good by anybody's imagination, you know, it's just got to be, hasn't it? All of this you can do, but the soap is the key. Don't use Dove, other soaps are available, because Dove, of course, has got this third moisturiser in it. I don't want moisturiser on my paper. The other issue is stay away from fairy liquid. Some people like to use fairy liquid. I wouldn't, because the key is in the name. It's liquid. It remains a liquid, and as a consequence you'll find that it just does not dry. Soap will dry to a powder. Therefore, when I want to brush it away, it comes away easily. This will all come away easily. Now, if I use fairy liquid, it's liquid, it stays liquid, and it will smudge when I get to this stage. It smudges. And also bear in mind, fairy liquid has salt in it, and you don't want salt on your picture either, because that will change. It will change the way that the paint goes on the paper. So you know what salt does to work. So we don't want that either. So stay away from fairy liquid. It's a good plan. Regarding the texture of your mask, the quality of it, this is really what you're looking for. This one, I've shaken it, but not as hard as the other one to get it all moving again. And you can see that this is perfect, because I would be able to dip into the liquid area here without picking up the bubbles. So this is ideal. This is my old pot. When this happens in the lid, just pick it out. Alright, so you get it in your fingers, big deal, don't worry about it. Pick it out, put it in a tissue, nice clean lid again. The other thing that I need to just mention is that some people will say with their yellow masking fluid and the thicker whites, not to worry about it, they water it down. Yes, okay, you can, but just bear in mind that if you water it down, you're going to be making it thin, and that allows it to soak into the fibres of your picture and your paper. Ooh, dodgy, and then getting it out is an issue. Regarding getting it away, there is a masking fluid that's white, and that particular mask does not come off at all. It's there, and it acts as a resist for the whole of the life of the picture. Again, I'm a little bit wary of that, because I'm worried that the masking fluid would go sticky, and then you've got a problem with it coming away at all. If you do have problems, it's not the big problem that it used to be. Once upon a time, if you threw mask around or you had it on a brush, that was the end of it. Total. End of it. All of it was rubbish and had to go in the bin. Nowadays you can buy this. This is masking fluid remover. It's called Zest It. Again, available from the SAA. Oh, it's wonderful stuff. It's orange zest oil, and if you just stand your brush in the pot, it's like the very best conditioner you can find for your brush. It turns the masking fluid into a jelly, and then you can just wash it away. You need lots and lots and lots of soap because it is oil. But your brush will come clean. You can use this on your clothes and on the carpet, whatever you manage to mess up. This is wonderful stuff. I'd recommend it. You can also use it for a little bit of blending if you like coloured pencil work. I use it for that as well. So that's Zest It. Here we go. Here's our leaf. It's all dry. And all we need to do now is use our finger or use our mask away. And if I come in here and I remove my masking fluid, how easy is that? And you have this leaf, and it takes it right back down to these lovely pale veins. It's great. What more could you want? All I'd say to you is don't forget you can use your mask again on top of your work. And therefore, if you decided that you wanted to go back into this and you'd like to have a background and you forgot all about it or you couldn't make your mind up, it's not the end of the world. if you take your soap, we can soap our brush. And I can come back into my masking fluid now, and as long as this is bone dry, and it is because I've put the hairdryer on it, we can come back to our mask and no fluffy brushing, come round here, up, through and round. And you've given yourself an edge now. You can paint a background in there and you can take the masking fluid off. Hey ho, Bob's your uncle. Let's try it, shall we, just to see. So I'm going to dry it. Be back with you in a second. I've thrown a little bit of colour around, not a lot, just a little bit. I wanted to give it a bit of a background. You can see where I've put the mask on round the edges, and now let's take it off and I can show you that you can use this again and again. And I've still got this super crisp edge down my picture, and I've put a background in, and that for me would have been very difficult to get a smooth background on top of that. So ladies and gentlemen, that is your whistle-stop tour of masking fluid and its uses. We have this and a trial piece of that on my website or in my Etsy shop for you if you want to give it a go. But don't be afraid of it. This is just a tool for you to use and for you to play with and for you to enjoy. And I hope this has been helpful in some small way. Thank you for joining me today. I'm Sharon Hurst and this is my studio. Bye for now.